Hello everyone, Glenn Chavez here with Choke Lab Media, and today our special guest is Dan Colville. We are here in Hoboken, New Jersey at Dan Colville Jiu-Jitsu School. Dan Colville, thanks for taking the time, taking this time with us to do this minor interview here. Before we start, could you just tell us, like a little bit about yourself, where you're from, having kids, married?
Sure, no problem. I'm originated from Central New York. It's dead middle of the state of New York State. I'm actually married. I'm very happily married. No kids, so that's why I get to spend most of my day doing jiu-jitsu when I'm not doing anything else.
If or when you have kids, do you definitely plan on immersing them in the jiu-jitsu art?
Not necessarily. If they want to, I'm a big proponent of allowing my children to choose their own path in life, especially when it comes to passion. This jiu-jitsu, grappling, combat sports in and of itself has been a passion of mine since I was little. I started in judo when I was very, very young.
So originally a judoka?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And that's how,
How did you get introduced to jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu, it was a natural step for me. I started playing judo when I was very little, and then I was disenfranchised with the way that they started scoring and taking more and more things away from people, and it almost became subjective in the way of scoring. It wasn't about who was the better competitor. It was about pretty throws and things like that. And then I was like, this isn't really what I was into. I was into competing. I wanted to see who the better person was at that moment, that time. And I felt like that was getting removed from judo to a certain extent.
Okay.
So I got into mixed martial arts because I really enjoyed that. And with mixed martial arts came getting into jiu-jitsu because I felt like that was a perfect complement to my already existing judo. So I was like, listen, if I can feel comfortable on my feet when it comes to grappling, my judo background, striking from boxing, if I was to be taken down or anything like that, jiu-jitsu was filling that gap for me, and that's how I started jiu-jitsu.
An easy transition?
It was because I'd always had an affinity for newaza.
Newaza.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means the ground technique.
Oh, the ground technique.
Yeah, the ground techniques in judo. So I was always I enjoyed pinning, I loved arm locks, I loved just go over throws, you miss, but then you just attack from the ground, which you saw from Travis Stevens, our silver medalist from the Olympics this past 2016. He did an exceptional job of mixing traditional judo attacks from his feet and then traditional judo attacks on the ground as well, but really, really with that ferocity that jiu-jitsu has, and judo really is supposed to exemplify. It's supposed to be hard-nosed, attack. And he really did an excellent job of that. So that's why I just decided jiu-jitsu was a perfect natural progression for me.
Who was your original professor?
My original professor, the person I first started with was Len Sonia in Central New York. He owns and operates a school in, I believe it's in New Hartford now. It's called Dojo One, Mixed Martial Arts. And Len has been someone that has been a huge proponent in that area, and I think he'll continue to be so. He really has produced quite a few people.
Who'd you receive your black belt from?
I got my black belt from Bill Megaris, and we are in that area. I think the vast majority of the schools are Balance affiliates.
This is over in the Syracuse area?
The Syracuse, Utica area, Central New York is what they refer to. So they're about 40 minutes away from one another.
Okay.
So it's really easy. If you're on the thruway, you can find them, no problem.
How did you end up down here? The east, a little more like New Jersey, the tri-state area.
The funny thing is, I was in school for respiratory therapy. When I was graduating, I had become friends with someone in the class, and he introduced me by accident or inadvertently to his sister, and I met his sister, and we got married. And she had been living down here, and that's why I moved.
That's awesome. You mentioned you competed. In your competition years, what would you say were some of your black belt best matches?
That's hard to say. I still look at myself as a competitor. I don't compete maybe as often as some other active competitors, but I would consider myself still an active competitor. I try to compete as often as time allows. Maybe once a quarter. I try to get 4 to 6 competitions in a year. And there's a few different times that I really look back and I'm like, that was really a good string of things. And probably first time I won the no heat pans. With I was fighting up a few weight classes because we had some teammates already in weight classes below, and I didn't feel like cutting weight at the time.
Okay.
So I just went up to what I think they call it middle heavy, medium heavy.
Do you remember that match?
I remember them because it was just, I remember everyone looked at me and they're like, that guy's definitely in the wrong weight class. Like all the other competitors were like, this guy's way too small. And then I remember after the first match, everyone was like, this guy's gonna probably be a problem. And I was fortunate enough to be the best person that day.
What year
and
was that?
2012.
2012.
Yeah, and I've had quite a few other good experiences at black belt, and I think in black belt more than anything else, you find people start to maybe fade a little bit when it comes to competing. And that's just life in general. It's not necessarily the person's will or want to, but as you get older, more responsibility comes on, and you have to do more things, and you're just not as heavily focused, especially as you start to become a teacher and you're really starting to lead people. I still try to be there and do the things that everyone would like to do. So it's really important to go out there and still compete and do my best every time. And when I look back at black belt, it's like, man, I'm still not done yet. I still go out there. So albeit I still have some favorite memories from black belt, I still try to make as many new ones as possible.
That's one of as a BJJ practitioner that I'm always looking forward to. That even though I officially started in 2010, but then I took some time off, had a motorcycle accident. I came back 2012, and I haven't stopped now. But I'm always talking to people who are higher ranks, and they're always it's a constant. You're constantly learning. It's the ever elusive that battle, and you're just saying that just reassures us more, because it's you even say now you feel like you have much more you have left to do, right?
Most certainly. I feel like I'm going to compete right up until the day they put me in the ground. I think I'm burying me under the mats. I'd say that all the time.
Awesome.
I think, and this is my personal belief, that competition is an exceptional measuring stick. I don't think it's the end all to be all. Best competitor is always going to change. It's always going to change. There's going to be a different person all the time, because people have different time periods in their life that maybe everything comes together. It doesn't make a difference what we're talking about. We're talking about the adults, the masters, whatever. You're seeing some of the legends now migrating into the masters divisions. Everyone gets old. That's how it goes. But it doesn't exactly. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's any easier competition strength. Again, like we already mentioned, life changes for people. It becomes dramatically different from maybe when you were 20 to now you're 35, and now you have kids and a mortgage, and you're responsible for all these other people's learning what you're so invested in. So I think with that in mind, I think still going out and competing is really important, because it allows you to go, what am I doing that is correct? What am I doing that is going to allow me to be a better instructor? Am I leading by example? Can I still lead by example in this manner? Some people might not physically be able to do it anymore. That's totally understandable. But I think you do yourself a disservice that if you're still physically able to and time allows for, you should get on the mats. People are excited to see you, win, lose, or draw, just to go out there and do what you can do. People have faith in you regardless. People sometimes, I think, they're more concerned with, I'm going to lose in front of my students or something. Everyone wins, everyone loses. That's not necessarily the biggest thing to take away from competition. Like I said, you want to be able to take away from competition that experience, so then you can go back to your students and go, hey, listen, I did this correctly in competition. This was great, so let's work on this a little more. I didn't do this as well as I'd like to. Let's take an extra look at this and try to firm this up, because we could all use some work on it. If I'm not doing so well with it, I'm probably not showing you guys the best way to do it. So let's make it a little bit better. So it's a learning tool that allows people to get better regardless of where you are. So, and especially at black belt, that's invaluable, because you never want to go, hey, I'm done, I'm good. I'm good. No, you never want to do that.
You've been training, competing how long?
Oh man, it's hard. Training competing jiu-jitsu for a long time now. I don't.
So you've been in the game.
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah, long time now. I don't know exactly when.
Do you think, since we're talking about competition, much has changed? Because you mentioned when you were training judo, you became a little dissuaded or disenfranchised. You said because of the way. Do you think any of that is now applying to in the IBJJF world, or with the the way the game is being played, or for now, I think now the big controversial talk is, see, here at like Choke, we just love jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, that's just what we like. We're in any way, shape, or form, we're just for jiu-jitsu. Either submission only, the whole competition points, but we also think that, like, you know, when you go to a competition, the objective is to submit the person.
Sure.
If you don't submit the person, then you win by the best case scenario, which is either by an advantage or a point. What is just like to know what your opinion is on either, you know, the EBI, like submission only, or like the IBJJF? Have you competed in both? Do you think one is more rigorous than the other?
I have. I believe the competition is run by Andrew Smith. It's called U.S. Grappling. I think that's been around, and that's typically submission only. And that's been around, I think, is a predecessor to almost all of the big submission-only tournaments. And he's kind of like nationwide. He goes to different major cities and so on and so forth. And I've been actively competing in IBJJF. I really think it's the best tournament circuit that we have as jiu-jitsu competitors, because not only does it allow for the most consistent level of competition, meaning so it's always attracting some of the best people on a consistent basis. It also is run probably the most professionally in terms of a tournament basis, on time, for the most part. Everything can always be better. And I really appreciate everyone that's involved in jiu-jitsu trying to make it better. So whether it be submission only or an IBJJF or a small little event that's trying to make waves and trying to do things right. Grappling Industries is an event that is now really striking out and trying to do things, putting together big matches, but also holding tournaments that are like run on time and as professional as possible. I don't really have a preference. My thing, more than anything else, is watching a match and watching it be scored and judged fairly. Like consistency of refereeing.
Mentioning like the whole, obviously we practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And have you competed in Brazil?
No.
But you competed here in the world in California.
Yes.
Did you experience, in your experience, any, because sometimes like some type of favoritism?
Oh yeah,
the guy was
doubt.
Brazilian.
Oh no doubt.
That, like, you knew he was like a Brazilian, and you know you being
yes.
not like, and you experienced that?
Absolutely. Without,
tell us a little bit like about it. Like, how did that make you feel?
You never, as I was saying, you never want to be. I can take losing. I think everyone can take losing to a certain extent. Still, as a competitor, deep down, you hate it. And there's an old saying like winners hate losing more than they like winning. So they always want to win because they don't want to lose more than anything else. And I think I tend to believe that's 100% true. At the same time, when we're discussing that, you know, you can swallow that pill, albeit bitter. You can swallow that pill of losing. It's the better guy. Guy was better today. I'll get him next time. You can always, I'll go back and work. But you can never, as a competitor, take being robbed, at least from your perspective, of a win. Never. You never, it sours you on it. And I think that, more than anything else, will kill a lot of people's want to compete. Because look at it this way, you take time away from your family, you take time away from other things you could be doing, hobbies, friends, social events, so on and so forth. You train hard to make weight, to pay for these events, which aren't
just to be cheated.
Exactly. To be cheated by somebody who is more or less indifferent to it, or who's only partial to the other person because of a nationality, which, again, this isn't always the case, but you know, people are also human. They make errors. Sometimes maybe it wasn't because he was Brazilian and you're a non-Brazilian.
It still goes on today.
Oh yeah, you see it all the time. You see, again, people are human and it happens. But I think if you feel like you're cheated, or if it's blatant, where it's like, you know how you're not, especially IBJJF events, you're not supposed to speak to the referee. Give you an example. At a recent event, I was competing against a Brazilian individual, and he started speaking to the referee in Portuguese. Now, that's supposed to be an immediate infraction.
Yep.
And that another infraction is supposed to be disqualified. Now, he just started having a conversation, which to me was the most bizarre thing on planet Earth, because if I would have spoke up, I would have most likely been hammered down and gotten a penalty for it. Maybe not. You don't know. I don't know, because I didn't say anything. I kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to get involved in that part of it. But I think a lot of people are put off by that. But at the same time, you know what that does for a non-Brazilian, like myself, not American. It makes me want to finish everybody, because then there's no doubt. So lights a fire on it. So when you go out there, you're like, I'm gonna finish everybody. I'm not gonna allow this to happen, especially if it happens to you once, maybe twice. You're like, no way is this gonna happen again. Like I'm not gonna allow you to cheat. And that's the thing that you have to keep in the back of your mind. Once that happens to you, we can always blame everything else. We can blame everyone. And you hear people in mixed martial arts all the time. Don't let it go to the judges. Don't let it go to the referee decision. In jiu-jitsu either. Don't. Like my coach Marcelo Garcia, he is a big advocate of don't let it go there. Finish. Put pressure on the person. Make them crack. And that is huge. That's huge. Like, and I can always be mad at that ref forever. Like, every time I see him, I can be mean mug him forever.
Yeah.
But reality of the situation is like I should have finished. And that's how I take. I'd rather have the personal accountability and go, I should have finished, than like just be bitter over that, because you know what that's going to do is going to rob me of the experience, or it's going to rob me of going out there and competing again. Which I don't want that. I want to still go and compete. I'll always remember that, but I'll always try to put it back on me, so it's easier for me to go. I'll go back out. I'll do what I need to do next time, so they can't take that away from me.
You mentioned Marcelo Garcia, if anyone who does jiu-jitsu, at least within the first, should definitely know.
Sure.
There's a few handful of people that I think any jiu-jitsu practitioner should know, and Marcelo Garcia is definitely one of them. This guy is legendary. I think a big mistake, at least people they think he's a big no-gi guy, which is I think a mistake, because he started off in the gi, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think there's no differential for him.
Okay. Since we're getting to that too,
sure.
You have no preference, I'm assuming.
We're correct.
With the gi or the no gi.
Correct.
Someone starting off, I remember when I started off, I only liked no gi. Naturally, so I was I felt weird with this thing on. If you get in a fight with someone outside, you're not gonna have these grips. How would you explain that to someone just starting off? Or how do you I fell in love with the gi because I just kept doing it.
Sure.
How did it happen for you, or was it just from the beginning you didn't have it?
I have students at both my programs here in Hoboken and Manhattan, and they both have a preference. A lot of them have preferences. Oh, I love the gi, or I like no gi, and you hear it. And typically, the two schools of thought. I like no gi because it's faster. Someone can't grab onto my clothes. And people I like gi because it's not as sweaty, or I can feel more comfortable, it's a little slower. I tell people, listen, they're both tools to get better at grappling. Okay? The easiest way to never have a preference over something is to never get dependent on one or the other. Don't get too dependent. Don't worry about grabbing too many grips that you're never going to have here. Try to look at grappling as grappling, whether it be wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu, sambo, any form of grappling that's, you talk about it, it's wrestling. You know what I mean? You don't think about it any other way. I think about it, when we're talking about things, we're talking about them in context of rules and traditions, whether it be uniform, skill set, belts. It's all grappling.
Yeah.
So that's how I tell my students. We're just all grappling. In the gi, there's specific things you can do in the gi. No gi, there's specific things you can do in no gi. And just afford yourself to have fun with it. Don't just go, I hate this.
I love that. Don't be dependent on either one.
Yeah, just be dependent on just going out there.
Because I don't know about it, or in this school or in another school, wherever you teach. I've experienced sometimes you'll see more guys in more classes with the gi than in the no gi classes. There's not as many students there. Do you experience the same thing?
No. Because the nice thing about the program here, the program in Manhattan, we really push for everyone just to show up.
Okay.
It's consistency. My biggest thing is, listen, you're never going to get any better. It doesn't make a difference what you choose to do if you're not consistent. So just be as consistent as possible. So come, whether it be gi or no gi, we're grappling. And the big thing is, as well, is we never just start down. Unless there's an injury or something, we don't just start down on our butt.
You seem like you studied a lot of martial arts. As a martial artist, not as just a jiu-jitsu practitioner, what would you say was the most important thing you've accomplished?
In martial arts?
Yeah, just martial arts.
Being able to allow myself to continue to grow to a point where people trust me to then share my experience, share what I know with them, and allow me to help guide them in what they're doing. Because it's something that some people might take a little lighter than I do. I don't take myself very seriously, but I take that part of my life very seriously.
Okay. I wanted to ask, I saw a video with you and Marcelo Garcia, which came out, I think, on YouTube. I saw that it was published last year. You started training with him, I'm not sure when. How was that, rolling with him? Or I see that, I was like, wow, I was amazed. Apart from anything else you're probably known for, predominantly would you say a lot of people know you for like your guard work? Are you like, is that something you're proud of? Like, yeah, that's right. Like, you don't see many people dominate their guard like that anymore.
It's something that I really enjoy because to me that's what distinguishes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from the rest of the grappling arts. Just being able to compete off your back.
I love that. Thanks for this. It's been amazing. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Thanks for
Thank you
everything.
so much.